Rob, I wrote down here that another benefit would be spreading risk, as in diversifying across different markets. You know how a while ago Perth went through that, the lull, and some states don't. And when you develop in different states, you can make the most of the particular state that's doing well, can't you? Because at the moment, some people are finding it's difficult to find sites. And that's a bit of a throwaway subject, I think, as in every state has a place where sites are working, but potentially some states have a few more than others. Would that be correct?
Yeah, and I have seen people chasing the shiny object. I can remember back in, say, probably pre-2014, when the Perth market was really hot for a number of years. In fact, the average price of a house in Perth was the highest in Australia. It was more than in Sydney.
Really?
And now have a look at it. So probably from about 2010 or 2011 up to 2014, a lot of people developed in Perth who lived on the east coast simply because the market was really booming.
Right.
It did have a rather severe correction in around June 2014 because Western Australia is so much dependent on mining.
Yeah.
And, it's going through a mining boom, and when Western Australia goes through a mining boom, everyone's making money, and then it went quiet, then it dropped anything up to about 25-30%, and it's only in the last year or 18 months that it's actually come back and passed that. But what I'm saying is a lot of people chased the growth in Perth, and a lot of people in Sydney, when Brisbane was having a good run, they'll do that. In the old days, well, I'll say the old days, it was almost predictable, and I'm going back probably to the 80s now, so I'm going back a bit, 80s, 90s. Say Sydney had a bit of a boom, and then the heat would go out of the Sydney market, and let's say Melbourne didn't have a boom, the heat would go out of Melbourne, and then Brisbane.
Was it like a cycle?
It was fairly cyclical. And the same in the construction industry, because you'd find a lot of builders and contractors would, say, ride the market in Sydney when things quietened down. Let's say it was hotting up in Brisbane next or whatever. A lot of transient people would come up here and they'd build, a lot of tradies and that sort of thing. It's sort of predictable.
Do you see that happening now or not really?
There's a lot of outside influences rather than just the pure market. See, back then it was just the market.
Yeah.
Whereas these days, there's a lot of government interference in things. As you know, the government's interfering with stamp duty, putting taxes on windfalls, all those sorts of things.